Good morning everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Morning Coffee with Cameron. In this video, I wanted to explore one of my favorite features of Parawave Rapid, which is its ability to resynthesize sounds as well as its multi-timbral functions to create these big, droning, super epic atmospheres within a single patch, which is what I think sets it apart from a lot of other synths on the market today. As I mentioned before, Rapid reminds me a lot of my Novation Peak, which I dearly adore, and honestly I need to start using Rapid more. But I do find myself pairing the Rapid Effects VST with my Peak quite a bit, and it's a really nice combination. In case you've never heard of Rapid, as it is a little bit under the radar, here's the quick summary. Rapid is a wavetable synth with some really unique resynthesis features. It's 8-part multi-timbral, offers up to 32 voices, has 3 oscillators per layer. Each of these can have up to 8 voices. It also supports samples, which can be multi-layered and round-robin. Each layer has its own arpeggiator, effects section, and mod matrix, and it's really just a unique, very powerful thing that I have a hard time comparing to anything else I can think of. Rapid also offers some really solid effects, and it can be used as an insert, so you can use the Rapid effects on any other sound. It has some really awesome reverb algorithms, and it may or may not have some really cool other features in the pipeline. Before we get into the video today, I'm also hosting a giveaway of 2 different copies of Rapid, and this is sponsored by my friends over at Parawave. I meant to do this giveaway a while ago, and then I got pretty busy, and then this whole situation happened, but I figured there's probably not a better time than now just to encourage everyone to keep being creative and just kind of do something fun. So for this giveaway, I will be giving away 2 copies of Rapid. The first prize winner will get a copy of Rapid as well as 2 Rapid extensions of their choice, and the runner-up will get a copy of Rapid as well as 1 Rapid extension of their choice. There are quite a few to choose from, and it covers a wide variety of genres, and Rapid itself is more than capable of anything you want to throw at it, really. So for this giveaway, it's going to be a songwriting/production competition, and I want you to write a song encompassing the passage of time, whether it's rapid or not. For the giveaway, there are a couple of rules. Rule number 1, the track must be under 5 minutes, so please don't send along any 47-minute epics, as I will not be taking a listen to anything that's super long, as I'm sure there are going to be quite a few entries. Rule number 2, you cannot collaborate. You must do this track by yourself, as I only have a couple of licenses to give away, so collaborations will be disqualified. Rule number 3 is the track must be a new and original work, and it cannot be something you made previously, so if you send along a link and it's a track from 7 months ago, you will be disqualified. Rule number 4, the song cannot be a remix of your own music or any other artist's music otherwise. It has to be new and totally original for this competition. Rule number 5 is you cannot use unlicensed samples in your track. If you do use samples, please make sure they are cleared. This is just in case Parawave might want to use this track in some marketing or promotional materials. You need to make sure that everything in the song you own the rights to and it is free to use. Last up, rule number 6, only 1 entry per person, so you can't send along multiple songs. If you do create more than 1 song, pick the one you think is best and then submit that. The judging will be based on the mix quality, if the song fits the theme, the artwork and other production qualities, and just the overall uniqueness and cool factor of the track. If it's something more unique and interesting, that will put you ahead even if the mix maybe isn't all the way quite there. So feel free to go nuts. There's no rules on genres or anything like that. Just create something that you are really happy with and send it along. To enter the giveaway, you can join my Discord with the link down in the description below and go to the Rapid giveaway chat and then drop your SoundCloud link there, and that's it. This will go for 2 weeks from the date this video goes live, and then from there I will pick a winner. With all that out of the way, let's hop into the DAW and resynthesize some stuff with Rapid. Okay, let's kick things off by taking a listen to the patch we're going to be breaking down in this video. So as you can hear, it's a very rich, lush pad sound with a lot of texture and movement and a couple arpeggios and a lot of cool stereo stuff and some cool effects. And it's really neat that this is all just within one instance of Rapid. There's actually no external processing whatsoever. This is the patch itself. So you can see it's made up of 4 different layers. We have the main pad, we have Arp 1, Arp 2, and then the noise texture. So one of my favorite things about Rapid is its ability to resynthesize sounds, and like I talked about in my kind of review/overview video of Rapid, it's not really something I've heard before in quite the same way. The only thing I can think to compare it to is Harmor, and even then it's just a little bit different in how it sounds. What I really like about this feature is it allows you to get pretty close to the sound of a Roland D50, which is a synth I've wanted to get my hands on for a long time because I think it has this really cool epic quality to the sounds, and Rapid gets very close to that in some ways. It's not quite totally the same, but it gives me the character I like of the D50 sounds within something that's maybe a bit more modern and easier to use. On top of that, because it's multi-timbral and every layer is independent, you can get extremely complicated with your patching and do pretty much all of your post-processing internally, which is pretty wicked. So let's start breaking this patch down one layer at a time. So let's disable these other layers. We'll just click the LED indicator up here at the top, and this is the main pad layer. This is made up of a crackle sound, a basic waveform. This is just slowly morphing between a sine and a sort of triangle, and down here I have Clark 2, and this is just morphing around relatively slow. Down here in the mod matrix, you can see all the destinations. So I've got LFO A, B, C, and D in use. And if we take a look at these LFOs really quick, you'll see that all of these are relatively slow. A is the default speed, C and D are at the default speed. So to change this, we could just drop the rate a little bit. But in any case, I think this is a pretty good setting all around because it just gives that little bit of movement and life to the pad. This crackle sound here is from a free pack you can get online. This is the Music Radar Noise Hiss and Crackle pack. It's one of my favorites. It's just a lot of cool textures. So what I did is just drag a sound of vinyl crackling into Rapid, and it resynthesizes it and gives it this nice airy texture. So I think you probably get the idea with oscillator B and C. These are just standard wavetable things. The only thing that's different is oscillator C is up an octave. But let's disable these and actually just take a listen to oscillator A. One other thing of note here is I have this button checked. So what this does is it skips the filter and insert processing, and this just goes directly to the output. So that way this noise layer isn't being affected by the filter, but the other oscillators are. The noise layer by itself sounds like this. So it just adds this nice kind of subtle bit of texture to the overall pad and adds this almost organic, airy quality to the whole thing. Oscillator B has two voices of unison and also has one of the effects types enabled. This is phase modulation from oscillator. So it's getting a little bit of phase mod from oscillator C and also a bit of phase mod from A. So by using noise for phase modulation or FM, it gives you a little bit of instability in the overall sound. So this just creates a bit more drift and movement as if it was like an analog style synth. Oscillator C here doesn't really have anything else going on. And then from here, I just blended these layers together and engaged the low pass filter. I've got this moving around a little tiny bit from LFO B. So just a subtle bit of movement, and then the fine tuning here of oscillator B is also being targeted by LFO A, and this is just moving a teeny tiny bit, once again, just to add that bit of drift and warble. In terms of the effects here, I have the reverb engaged. This is on the area size, and the decay is pretty long, mix is pretty heavy, and then this feeds into an equalizer. I'm just getting rid of some low, kind of subby stuff. You could maybe add a bit more air to this part of the patch, but I found it wasn't really necessary because I'm adding in more noises and texture later on. Once we have all this put together, this is the final result of this layer. And I think that honestly by itself is a really, really solid pad sound, but that's the fun of Rapid is we can take what would be a single synth patch and then require us to add more synths and stuff to layer it together to get it to be bigger. We can just do this all within one thing. So let's break down the noise texture next because this is pretty simple. I've got two different noises here, once again from the Noise Hiss and Crackle sample pack. This is the Yamaha CS53 noise. This is just kind of like a white noise. And then I've got Tape Noise 6 here. So if we disable the main pad and take a listen, all I've got going on is the low pass filter here, filtering both of these. And then if we take a look at the equalizer, just shaving off all the low end that's not necessary. And this is the sound of this layer. For a bit of extra movement and stuff, I've got the envelope here set to a pretty standard pad sound, so 780 milliseconds of attack, and then a really long release. That way, when I let go of a note or a chord, it just has this kind of ending wash to the whole thing. Once I had this envelope set up, I actually copied it over to the main pad envelope. That way, these are both moving at the same time, and you get that same washy release, and they just kind of melt together in a nice way on the tail. So to copy the envelope, all I did is right-click on the envelope, hit copy, and then move it over here to the main pad and paste it in. So let's break down these ARP layers because they're a little bit more complicated, but I think this is really the fun of this patch because with these two layers, the main pad and the noise, this is what we've got so far. Which is, again, not really a bad result, and you could totally use this, but I just wanted to add some ARPs and stuff because that's just fun. This part of the patch is actually pretty straightforward. We have a sine wave here and a saw wave here. This is up an octave, this is up a fifth, and the saw has two voices of unison and then is having the volume modulated by LFO B. The envelope here is actually really straightforward, an instant attack, and then about 500 milliseconds of release. So the LFO is really where the magic of this happens, because this gives you a bit more variety rather than just like a sine wave ARP thing. If we disable the noise texture and the main pad, this is the ARP sound. So as you can hear, that detuned saw that's up a fifth just adds this nice kind of harmonic richness and bloom to the sound over time, because it's only happening every once in a while. It's not happening every single note. To achieve that here, I've got LFOB on bar lifter 1, and then I adjusted the phase and bend to get this ramp down wave, and then that's targeting the volume here, so it's just kind of going through with a rate of 1 bar, so it's just happening on the kind of downbeat, and then it decays, and then it comes back in, and then it decays, and so on and so on. The filter here has some modulation from LFOC. This is just a standard sine wave LFO, not really anything too special, and just moving around a little bit just for a little bit of extra motion to this part of the patch overall. And then I've got the envelope for that up here as well. So this is coming from envelope B, relatively straightforward filter envelope, not really much to talk about. So the effects for this layer is where things really get fun. And as you can see, I've got quite a few here. First up, I have a dual delay, and I have a quarter note and a dotted eighth. The quarter note has a bit more feedback, and that's really all I touched here. I almost enabled the saturation, but I found that just got things to be a bit too overwhelming, but you could try it out and see what you get. Next up is the distortion on soft mode, just a tiny bit of drive and mixing this in just a little bit. And this is just adding a nice bit of breakup and kind of crunch, because otherwise, it just sounds like a sine and a saw, so this just adds a little bit of meat to the sound overall. Next up is the reverb on area, really long decay mixed in relatively low. This is just to make sure the ARP is clear, because if it's mixed in too high, it's just going to wash out and you're not really going to hear anything. One thing to try is actually moving the distortion to be after the reverb, and this is a really common trick I do myself quite a bit to get that dirty verb tail. So this will just saturate and break up the reverb tail as it decays. So try switching around the order of those and see what you get. Here I've got the bit crusher. The bits are down about here. I'm not really sure that there's a value. The rate is there and the jitter is there. So those are the settings, and you can copy those down. This is followed by the ensemble, which is just a nice wide multi-voice chorus. So I've got the mix about maybe 25%, feedback right at the middle, damping all the way up, and speed right in the middle. Maybe drop this down as well. That can just give you a bit more of a slow movement rather than something so kind of like chorused out and washy. To cap things off here, I've got the equalizer. This is just cutting out the low end stuff once again, because we're going to have, basses and stuff. So we don't need the low end from this patch. And you could do this later on with an EQ, but it has an EQ in it. So might as well just use that. So this brings us to ARP 2, which is a bit more straightforward. I've got a noise layer here, just dragged this in and turned it to resynthesize mode. That gives me that nice texture. Here I've got additive 5 and basic 1 in the waveform. So this is moving around a little bit. This is targeted by LFO-A, which is just a really straightforward sine wave. And then LFO-B has the oscillator C volume. So LFO-B here is once again a ramp down wave, and this is happening every bar. Nothing is tuned or anything like that. This is a straightforward little thing. This has 6 voices of unison, pretty detuned. So this is a bit more kind of the sparkly, washy part of the ARP. If we take a listen to this layer, it sounds like this. This layer has a low pass filter on it and is using a little bit of the filter envelope. The amplitude envelope is just the defaults. The filter envelope is the defaults as well. I'm just getting this to have a little bit of a plucking motion, and that's really it. The magic of this layer is the trance gate, which is actually a stereo trance gate. So you can get some kind of cool rhythmic ping-ponging effects, and this just really fills out the sound overall. This layer was added in later on, and it just helped to fill things out. This is smoothed out just a little bit because sometimes with trance gate effects, it can just be a little obvious. So a bit of smoothing can kind of help just make things gel together and not stand out as being such an obvious effect. From here, I just went in and just kind of randomly clicked around a pattern until something felt right. And these are the final values I entered if you want to copy that down. Next up is a reverb here mixed in about 30%, really long decay. The size is nuclear, And this just adds that big washy bit of space to this layer because it's not really the primary ARP. This is kind of just filling out some extra gaps in the sound overall. Finally, to finish things off here, I've got the phaser. This is mixed in pretty high, feedback right at noon, and the speed really, really low. So this is after the reverb just to provide that extra bit of washy movement to the whole thing because it's not really the primary ARP layer of the patch. This is just kind of a backing filler element. So I just wanted it to move and just add that little bit of glue to the whole patch and tie everything together. So once you've got all your layers put together, one of the other cool things in Rapid is you can actually access the mixer. So I went in here to the mixer tab and then just blended these into taste. You can also pan them out. So panning out these ARP layers can actually be kind of cool, and that sounds like this. There is also a multi-band compressor here with a couple different types, and I do recommend experimenting with this as well because it can provide some really nice glue to put things together if things aren't maybe sitting together very well, but it can also go very ridiculously hard and add those kind of OTT type effects right inside of Rapid. So yeah, that is the patch all in all. There's not much more to it than that other than 4 layers and some cool noise resynthesis to add this extra texture and stuff that I find I can't really get anywhere else, and that's what I really, really like about Rapid. So I think that wraps things up for this video. If you'd like to see more videos about Rapid or maybe have a question or something like that, feel free to let me know down in the comments below. Big shout out again to my friends over at Parawave for sponsoring the giveaway in this video and for just making a generally badass synth all around. So other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. I hope you learned something. Be sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys again soon.